everyone. It's exciting to be together from so many different places. Before we came online, I was having a look to see where everyone was visiting from today. And please, if you would put that in the chat box so that other people can see what countries are here. So Meet the Authors is an initiative of the IKC Personal Development School to bring awarenesses to what courses are available for all the IKC students and professionals, and so that the Personal Development School is a go-to place for continuing education points. And the reason that we put on Meet the Authors is so that you can see what choices that you've got when you're looking for your continuing education points. So I hope that you have a pen and paper or a notebook with you, as you never know what gems that you might gather into your awareness. Our host is Teresa, who's been chatting to you already this evening, and our videographer is Pablo. Our first speaker today is Isabel Compan. Isabel created from her heart her course titled Emotional Star, an aspect of how to process emotions based on the laws of traditional medicine. Isabel, the next little while is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Sylvia, for your little introduction. This is one word that born into my class with my students, and is a work that I love a lot, because I think this is important to work with emotions, to process them, because emotions are always alive inside of us. And we need to process and integrate them, because we need to be aware of them to change the energy and solve problems in a constructive way. Because if you are not away from the emotions, the emotions drive your life, not you. That's the reason I did this work with my little students in the schools, because I discovered that they have got a big problem with their root, because they came from different countries. And this is the reason I did this little work. Nowadays, this work, I am developing it with seniors in my little village here in Premia. This is a book that has 8 parts. Here, the parts: the presentation, the background, the phase stage of grief and basics of traditional Chinese medicine, how to do the emotional journey, activities, how to process emotions, and an example how to do that. In the background, I spread a lot of concepts. I think they are necessary to people to understand the functioning of the brain, because we need to have a little information about ourselves. For example, we need to know our brain. This is a map of the brain, and the brain has different areas. In each area, we have different perceptions stored, and we need this storement to go ahead with our executive brain. And then I speak about that in my book, speaking about the lateralities, the brain and the left and right hemispheres, and different lateralities of the brain. And I speak about the limbic system with the 5 stages of grief and the 5 emotions of traditional Chinese medicine that are similar. I explain also the survival and reptilian brain, primary reflexes, sensorimotor development, and finally, I explain a little about neocortex, symbols, concepts, and values. I also speak about the stress, because I think the stress is important to understand how it works, because it's an adaptation to the circumstances. And finally, I go into the medicine traditional Chinese. And this is a comparison between the 5 stages of grief and the 5 emotions in the Chinese medicine. You can see the parallelism between rage, happiness and acceptance, reflection, negotiation, sadness, it's the same, and fear and denial, because the first step of or the stage of grief is denial normally. I do that working in the cycles of the Chinese medicine using different resources and going through the 2 cycles, the Shan cycle or generation cycle and the cause cycle. And after I explain a little about different aspects of the each element. For example, the spring is the child, the summer is teenager, the first is the adult, the autumn is the maturity, and winter regards old age. Then I give information about different ways to understand the seasons, because I think it's important for people to know how Chinese medicine works with seasons, different from our own seasons. After the little introduction on Chinese medicine, I go to the musical test, and after I go to the goals, how to do goals in the right way, because we need to understand, we need to speak to the brain in the adequate language, because if not, we are doing a bad work. And here's the example, a little dialogue between Mr. Lion and Dorothy. And we can see, for example, I don't know if you can see that, because Mr. Lion asked to Dorothy, where are you going? And she says, I don't know. Then I don't mind the way you take to go where you go. That is interesting, because a lot of time people don't know where they are going. No? And we have also 5 goals in each emotion. I think the vital challenges that I propose are these one. Self-adaptation is the spring, self-acceptance is the summer, self-image is the 5 station, self-esteem is the autumn, and self-confidence is the winter. And each of them challenges are decorated with other proposals more riches than here. Only is an example here. And then we work about how to speak. Our brain is very obedient. If we smile, he thinks we are happy, and consequently, he produces endorphins. This is interesting, because always we need to speak to the brain in an adequate language, because a lot of times we speak without to think. It's very common. And then it's incredible how people say things that like, oh, I am pain in my bottom, or I pain in my door, or I pain in my head. Or no, if you are pain, you always look for pain. You need to do another thing if you want to find another thing. This is the real challenge, speaking to the brain. And after that, I propose different approach and activities to work with emotions. One of the activities are listening activities. I propose about 45 or 30 musics. If they are listed in the book, you can see that? No, sorry. In each element about classical music, modern music, to work emotions with music. And this is a very important activity, because when you hear music, you transport your body and your soul in another place, and then you can work in another level, different from the control level. Also, we work with visual activities and talk forms. That is very interesting, because normally we give forms to our thoughts, and when we concrete these forms, we can work with them in an easy way. Because if I have a balloon in my tummy, I can take this balloon and take it off. If I have another thing, I can take this other thing and do something different with that, because the form help us to work with. And then I work with the names of the emotions, affirmations, and doing stories, dreams, meditations, emotional boxes, free sessions. How to do that? With the muscle test. I test what is the activity better convinced to the people to do this work today. And after that, after to choose the activity we need to do, then you take measures. We take measures to see what is the way and what is the place we have this emotion in this moment. After that, we start our journey, going to the change cycle, doing things like, for example, how to, I start in the center because the center of my universe, it's myself. That is the reason I start with my identity, how I am satisfied of my name. And that are little questions, only like examples to work with myself. Other examples to work with myself are positive aspect, the spleen and the stomach, and negative aspect. We can take these words and do stories or speak about how I feel in front of each of these words. And I have not put the musics, but I do the same with the second element, sadness or self-worth, self-esteem, because lung and large intestine, the emotion is worth and self-esteem. And we work in this way, asking ourselves, how is my worth and how thing I deserve? And this, after that, with music also. After that, we go to the kidney vessel, going with fears. Fear has a lot of faces, denial, shame, fear, all of the panic, or all of the phobias are fear. And then we work with all of these kind of emotions, choosing one of them, and then working in this way. After that, we take liver and gallbladder, is the stronger one to transformation, and in front of challenges, we can do different things and adapt to new aspects on our life. And finally, we go to acceptance and love and hate, relationships, and all these things. These are the 5 elements working in a change cycle. After go in this cycle, we go to the go cycle, and we start with heart. After we go with lung, large intestine. After we go with liver and gallbladder. After we go with split stomach. And then is kidney vessel. And finally, we close the work with the central meridians. And this is all the journey we do with this emotional travel. And after to do that, we do the same we have done at the first, taking measures. We compare our state before to start the session and at the end of the session. And then we compare what is our feeling about the emotion we have worked. And also we do activities to reinforce this work. And finally, in the book, you can find a practical session, like an example. And I do these activities, next courses. I do 2 courses, one for beginners, another for professionals. The one is for people that doesn't know 5 elements and Chinese medicine, and the other one is for people that wants to do the activities professionally. And then I can work with instructors and people like this in order to renew the license to teach Touch for Health. And that's a little muestra of that. Okay? If you have some questions, I can.
Isabel, this is a really lovely showcase of your work. And one of the things that I really liked, I mean, there was so many things that I was just captivated with, but really and truly, those words speak to the brain in appropriate language. And
Yeah.
one of the things that is a constant for us humans is to watch our self-talk. And what is it that brain is listening to? So thank you so much for bringing that to us and to my awareness again today.
I want to say something because people is not aware about how they talk to themselves. Normally, it's a negative language. Normally, not always. You need to do something different to speak you positively. And that's for me a great challenge. Okay, I have done my book in English also, Emotional Start. You can find it in Amazon if you want.
Jer, have you got something to say there? I can see a real look of curiosity on your face.
So notice that some of the emotion lists that you have on the elements, the ones that say, for instance, are not in Touch for Health, are also the similar ones to the ones John Barton used in kinesiology, which is an interesting, his LAN emotions. So I don't know if you've used some of his work or have you done John Barton's work or where you got it, but it's interesting to see that there's a correlation between the LAN emotions and some of the emotions you've used, particularly the non-Touch for Health ones in the emotion list.
Okay, I don't know why, but I have been inspired. When I wrote my book, in a moment, I thought, oh, that's coming with that, is next to that. And it was an inspiration. I don't know how they come from me, but I put in my book.
Well,
can I say?
John Barton's dead, so maybe he's inspiring you, but they're very.
Yeah, it was an inspiration because I started to write without to think to write a book. That is my story. I started to write it because people ask me about musics because every element has 45 musics minimum. And then I decorate the musics with a little Britain. And after that, I have got a lot of things together. I thought, that's a book. And then I started to write the book. And when I was reading the book, sometimes it comes from me, oh, this is interesting to put here. And I put that. It's like this.
The interesting thing is, Isabel, that when we're in the energy, when we're in the flow, it's like there's the universal energy that happens and it flows through us. And it's what the world needs to hear now. And so I guess from John Barton's work, that's been around for a long time. And so those words, there's nothing new under the sun. And
No.
if the people that we meet need to hear it again, then they need to hear it from your voice and from the voices of all of us that are here today. Okay, this is it this time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.